So I'm Maureen, and you just met my daughter Kelly. She did the announcements, and my husband of 32 years, Bill, is also here with me tonight, and we have a son, Patrick, who's 21, and he's not with us here tonight. But kind of a really funny story that Pastor Raphael sent me this message, text message earlier in the week, and he asked if I wouldn't mind saying a word or two tonight on this topic. And what Raphael didn't know, but God knew, today is an incredibly special day for me. Today I'm celebrating 16 years clean and sober. And 100% of the glory for that is to God. Because anybody who knows addiction, and most people know somebody who's struggled or they've had a struggle themselves, you're powerless. If you want to feel powerlessness, it's you in a struggle with addiction. Paul talks about two things in some of his letters. He's not referring specifically, I don't know what he's referring to actually, but one of them that I find kind of amusing is in 2 Corinthians. Paul talks about having the thorn in his side. Purposely never describes exactly what the thorn is. In my case, I feel like, it could be in my life addiction. And when he asks God to remove the thorn, he says, "My grace is sufficient." And when I started on my journey of being clean and sober, it was God's grace. It was purely God's grace. It was God's grace that intervened in my life at the point that I needed to make that decision. And it's been God's grace every day for 16 years that I haven't picked up a drink or a drug. The other thing, I find kind of an amusing verse, and one of my favorites is in Romans. Paul talks about that, Romans 7:18, he says, I don't do what I want to do, I do what I wish I didn't do, and I feel like that was my life. Well, it's my life on a regular basis, but in addiction, it was like a different kind of, I do what I don't want to do. I was compelled to keep doing something that I didn't understand. It's difficult. If you've never been in the grip or seen somebody in the grip of it, it's extremely difficult to understand. But yeah, I kept doing what I didn't want to do and didn't do the things that I knew I should. So before I go further, I'm just going to give you a little background on my relationship with God. I've always known God in my life. I grew up in an organized religion. And the extent of my relationship at that point, well, it wasn't even really a relationship. It was kind of like I went to church once a week, and I don't know if I really paid much attention to what was going on there, but as I saw it, that was like my heaven points. Like you had to go. I had to check that off, and that was what I did. I followed all the rules. I did all the things you're supposed to do, but I didn't get much anything out of it. In 2000, in the year 2000, my life took, apart from addiction, my life took some very difficult turns. And I'm not going to go into detail what they were right now. That's a whole other story. But took some very difficult turns, and I tried to turn to religion before I turned to drugs and alcohol. And I just couldn't get the comfort and peace out of it. So what I did, my understanding of religion, I prayed for God to change my circumstances, and I just asked, like, God, please take these things that are causing me so much pain, take them out of my life. And that didn't happen. And at the time, like, I didn't understand. I thought God was like this genie. I must have not said enough prayers, said enough novenas, lit enough candles, you name it. I wasn't doing it because God didn't do what I wanted him to do. And I didn't know. I couldn't see a path forward in my life with these things that were happening. The interesting thing that was, as I was feeling so badly and my life was spiraling further out of control, I didn't see it then, but God was invading my life. Like hard to describe it. If you've had your life invaded by God, it's big, like you know what's happening. And I don't know exactly how. This is what I remember. The most concrete thing I remember about this point was I was working a couple days a week, and I would drop my kids off at school in the morning, and I was in the car at this certain time that this radio show came on. How I found this radio show, I don't know. It's on AM. It was on this AM Christian talk station. I don't even know what I was doing on AM, but somehow I found this show that I found incredibly comforting, and the name of it was Back to the Bible with Woodrow Kroll. I still remember it. It's not on anymore, but something about this really it grabbed me so much that I went out and bought a Bible. After all these years of being in an organized religion, like I'd never picked up a Bible. I don't know if anybody ever told me to read the Bible. So I went out and I got myself a Bible, and I started reading it, and it's a process. It's a long commitment. I've been reading it for, 20 years, but over the course of this time, I've turned my life over to God in a whole different way than I ever knew was possible. Like, I don't pray for God to fix my life anymore. And what I understood from all the things that I asked, like, God, please take this away. God, please do this for me. God, please do that for me. Make this happen. Make it go this way, blah, blah, blah. God answered all those prayers, but the way he answered the prayer was he changed me so I could deal with those things in a way that I couldn't before. The answer to God's prayers often doesn't look like you wish it did, but today, because I have surrendered to God's will for my life, and today I have an incredible amount of peace. Now, I have a lot of blessings in my life. I am still dealing with many of the struggles that I was back in 2000. Today, I handle them with peace because I know that I am in the hand of a God who loves me. I didn't understand that God loved me. When these things were happening to me, I thought, God must hate me to let these things happen in my life. I understand now, and it's very difficult because people ask me all the time how I have such peace with some of the things that I battle, and it's so difficult to explain it without them having to, I start with a verse, and one of the verses that I picked up really early into my Bible reading was that God could give you a peace beyond all human understanding. And I thought, I didn't know what that meant, but I thought I wanted that more than anything. And I asked God, like, please, if you're not going to change these circumstances, God, please give me that peace. And, well, he did. And life is really wonderful today. I have a lot of blessings. I'm so blessed to have my family with me here to celebrate 16 years. And I just want to thank Pastor Raphael for asking me to come up and share a little bit about myself. So, thank you.